9.
I see.
I'll tell her you can't do it.
Yeah.
Para X. The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Supernatural. Magic. Ghosts. UFOs. Bigfoot. Extraterrestrial. Psychic energy.
The Calling.
And good evening, everyone. It's another Wednesday night, and it's an interesting night. That's it. I don't know anything more about tonight. Kimberly Juarez, what's happening down there in southern Minnesota?
A whole lot of nada. It's all good, though. That's all, it's good. It's good.
What about you, Willow?
Well, it's kind of chilly here now.
Oh, my God. Your chili is what, 60?
No, actually, we're now like in the 50s during the day, and we're getting down like in the next 2 nights into the 30s. So it's getting cold. So
we'd rather have the 30s than the teens.
Well, yeah, I understand, but I live in a tropical area. It's supposed to be warm.
I'm sorry, but our heart is not going to bleed for you, my darling.
I'm sure it won't.
Minnesota tough.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm down here.
And I throw on an extra blankie.
Hey, I bought a fur cat hat, so I'm good. Complete with the cat hat. Yeah, it's like, it looks like a cat, and it's got the long things that hang down with mittens on the end. Oh, yeah, I'm ready.
Oh, my God.
I am ready to go
Is it
out
black?
and do it. Is. I'm a black cat with paws, with the little toe beans and everything on it. Yeah. It's perfect.
Toe beans.
Like on a cat. The little pads on their feet.
Pads.
Little toe, yeah. Mm-hmm.
You call them toe beans?
Uh-huh.
Kimberly, have you ever heard of that before?
No. That's why I'm laughing.
It's like,
Okay,
wow.
I'm the crazy cat lady. Everybody knows that.
Okay. All right, so our guest tonight is Michael Bodine. Michael, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Not bad. Have you ever heard of toe beans?
No, I was trying to reflect on the toe bean situation, and I can't recall I've ever had that thing, toe beans.
Neither have I. Yeah. Plus, she's wearing a dead cat on her. I don't get that.
Well, yeah,
Oh
I had a black cat, but he is dead. But he only had 3 legs. Yeah, I can't.
He only had 3 legs.
He only had 3 legs, but he had pterodactyl, so he had extra palms. And,
Oh, cool.
And he was great. Whenever I do readings, he'd always sit there, and if he didn't like the person, he would swat at him. And
That's great.
And yeah, but he was very protective, and I miss him. I miss him a lot. Yeah, he died not about a year ago. No, a little longer than that. Yeah, but yeah, he was like 300 years old, so it was time for him to go. He could barely walk.
Aw.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
he hopped
300.
anyway because of, the 3 legs. But
Yeah.
yeah, he was. I miss him. I think every psychic's supposed to have a cat. I think it's sort of in the rule book or something. So
Yeah,
I have 3. So
Yeah.
that tells you something there.
I
Yeah,
have 4 inside, and I don't know
Yeah.
how many I feed outside. So.
yeah, that's I don't know about a lot of cats, but I know you're supposed to have at least one. Yeah, they're very good for the spiritual stuff. They
They are.
Definitely.
They're very
That's
protective.
for
of all that.
They love sitting on my clients.
Yeah, that's
they will
nice.
just climb on their laps if they like them, and they're like, "This is my lap now." So yeah.
Yeah.
So,
if they like them.
Cats own everything.
Well,
Yeah.
they do.
Get on your computer and and just like Bobo used to be the ghost kitty for the calling and for the gathering, and then Poor Bobo, she's not around. But, I was looking at a thing today, as a matter of fact. They're talking about cats aging compared to dog aging. A dog, they say, what is it, every 7 years or
7
something
years,
like
yeah.
that?
Mhm.
Yeah. With cats, it's way different. I can't remember what they said it was, but when Bobo, I think, was 21 when she passed, so that means she was 100 years old and human.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot.
Mhm.
That's
Holy
that's an
smokes.
old cat.
It's weird though. They age faster according to the human versus the cat years. They age the fastest in the first 2 years of their lives. So like in 2 years they're like 28. So I have like two 28-year-olds that are driving me crazy. And then I have like Maurice and Yoshi who are closer to 11 years old. And so yeah, they're like 56 or something like that.
Wow. So how old are you, Mr. Bodine?
I'm 60-something one. 60, yeah.
Are you really? Oh, I
yeah.
thought you were younger than me.
No, I'm way old. I'm just old as dirt.
I remember the first time that I ever met you, and it was on Bobby Sullivan's show so many years ago, and it was called Fate Radio. That's what it was. And I screwed up, and for some reason, I thought Echo was your mother.
Oh, I know. I tell people that. It pisses me off.
I did. I said, so how's your mother doing? Echo. And you're like, that's my sister. Bobby just right away slammed me for it. And I was like, I just wanted to crawl underneath my bed and just never come up.
Don't. I think it's great. She hates it, but I do it all the time. I said, oh, you know my mom? Yeah, it drives her crazy. Especially after my mom passed, because my mom was great. She was, but yeah, it drives Echo crazy because we're not that far in years apart. But
right. Well,
so when you see her, if you ever see her, just say, "Hey, I talked to your son."
Yeah.
I'd like her to like me, not hate me.
No, she'll just call me up and go, "You little, so and so."
She's so funny because the last time I seen her, and I seen you too at our Palooza, and she all of a sudden she's looking at me from across the room, and she comes over and she gives me her hand, and she goes, I know you were friends on Facebook," and I said, "Yeah," and she said, she's just like squeezing my hand.
Yeah, she's good at squeezing hands.
Yeah, and she says, "So you have a lot of pain in your leg?" Yeah. I said, "Yeah, I do." And she goes, "Oh, it looks just terrible." And I'm like, "Wow, okay, keep going." And she goes,
boundaries.
"You're Bobby's friend." And I said, "Yeah." And then she said, what did she say? She said something. It was just, she said, "And how come you never told me?"
What?
And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, and she goes, "You were about to say it. Why didn't you just thought it a moment ago?" And I said that your ex-husband was a goof because he used to come into T-Mobile. And
which one? She has like 7 exes, I think. I'm trying to remember.
No, I don't remember his name, but he used to come in and he used to brag that I'm marrying Echo Bodine.
Oh, yeah.
And I
probably,
went,
I think
that'll be the funniest day in the life. That's what I thought right away. I never said it, and he just annoy the heck out of us when he'd come in.
Yeah, I think, he wanted to change his last name to Bodine, which I thought it was
really.
I think I can't remember his first name, but I know who you mean. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that marriage lasted about 20, maybe 30 minutes. I'm not sure, but
it
wasn't that long.
It's not for very long. No, I love your sister. I have full respect for everybody in your family.
Thanks.
And if anybody knows you, and if or even just knows you a little bit, you are so welcoming when someone comes in the room and they say hi to you. It's like you're not the type of person that just, oh, hi. I'm Michael Bodine. I'm famous.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Go get me a latte.
Cross
town.
Yeah.
That type of thing. You're very personable, and
thanks.
you, that's it. That's what attracted me to you.
I thought it was maybe the hair.
No, I mean,
I was going to say that. It could have been the hair, Jerry.
It's the hair. People like the hair.
I think it's the hair.
It's the way he moves. Yeah. It's the way he moves.
Oh my God, is that Prel?
Because that's when you're a real person. Because I mean, come on, Willow and Kimberly, we've all met, semi-famous people or famous people and stuff, and some of them are so stuck on themselves. It's unbelievable. It's like, are you kidding me? I couldn't even remember your first name.
I know. That's embarrassing. Yeah.
Yeah, but you and your family, you guys are pretty awesome. And speaking of the family, now, okay, go ahead, Kimberly. I'm sorry. You got your mute on. Try unmuting. Okay, now say something, Kim.
Okay, so now I think Echo is totally opposite of Michael, because Echo walks into the room and she's all, hello! Like when I met her, the first time I met her, she did that. And I was like, that's Echo Bodine. I was like, so to me, she's opposite. She's like, she's out there. She's genuine. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So yeah.
She's very genuine. So talking about like when she squeezes hands, I have a buddy, Gary Busey. He was in town for something, and so I was down there, and she came down to visit. He was speaking or something like that, and she came up and she squeezed his hand, and he's got bad hands from he was a motorcycle accident thing. But anyway.
Yeah.
Oh God!
He starts going, "Oh, what the hell just went out?" He just starts screaming, "My head! What the hell are you doing?" Oh, it's so funny. I got so embarrassed because he just made a huge scene about it. And it was just because Echo grabbed his hand and said, "Hi, honey," and he's at first he's like, "Oh, hi," and then what? Oh! Screaming! Oh my God! It was so funny. Poor Echo. She didn't know what to do.
Oh my God!
I think we should have a show and have Echo and Michael both on. I think that would be.
Oh my God,
it would be great.
You know what? Mother? Yeah, that'd be good.
Your mother.
Yeah,
we just let you both just talk.
Yeah. She's way more in the kumbaya stuff. Like, she takes the little white rag and then she goes up to heaven. That kind of stuff. And the way she everything is kind of has a meaning. Like if she spills her coffee, I wonder if Jesus is trying to tell me something. It's really everything's deep. And and really? Oh my God, you should spend 10 minutes with her. You can't even believe it. You smell like patchouli, even if she's not wearing it.
Patchouli. So gross.
But she's so sweet, and she's just
she is.
She's just like, really she irons her socks. She bakes all the time. She's just that person. And she's,
she's so funny because I noticed on Steph's show on The Gathering that she says a lot of times she'll say, "Oh, hun."
She calls everybody hun.
Yeah. And Steph says, she goes, "Well, Michael's got something too." I said, "What's that?" "Well, you got to hit him before he says the F word." Yeah. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, that's right."
I know. Right. I do. I try not to. I've been trying really hard not to swear as much, but. Like when I do readings, my guides are really they're kind of bored with people, generally speaking. So if somebody comes to me and they have like a really dumb question, it's like they say to me, what kind of stupid question is that? And so I just to ask them. It's not necessarily always me. It's just their guides are just like, they detach their retinas from rolling their eyes. they can't believe some of the stupid questions that people ask.
Okay, so
because they know the answer, they're just asking me to verify it, and validate it. And
right,
it's frustrating. So yeah, I'm trying not to swear. I'm really not that hard, but I do when I grew up, I grew up with all this stuff, and I was the youngest, and I hated all of it. I hated all of it because it was just freaking weird, It ghosts everywhere, and my friends would see them, and it's embarrassing, and people were levitating in the living room, and they were, practicing, they were channeling. It was just I didn't like it, and so when I finally decided, okay, screw it, I'm going to do this stuff. I'm just going to do it. I purposely did it in busy restaurants or bars, places where like my sister needs it really quiet, and she, she's very ceremonial about it and blah, blah, blah. And then she closes her eyes, and I thought, screw that. I'm just do the opposite. So I would, I'd be screaming to people, "Your husband's going to leave you."
Oh my God.
Just to be irreverent about the whole thing. And,
I can
you really
see
suck at your job.
I can see where I can see where you both, when you guys do your readings and stuff, you must be really far away from each other. Because I wonder if her spirit guides are rolling their eyes because, oh my God, Michael's too close again, type of thing going on. Yeah. So when we were talking about eye rolling of spirit guides and stuff, and you had mentioned Gary Bussey.
Yeah, Gary, he's funny.
What did his spirit guides, because we all know, him before and then we know him after.
Yeah. Gary is like one of the sweetest guys in the world, but he's kind of like a dog. He's just all of a sudden, he's a really good guy, and all of a sudden he'll just get nuts. And it doesn't take much to trigger him. You have to say a couple words or something, and he can't hear very well. So if you want to drive him crazy, you just really talk low. And,
you are nasty.
What? Yeah, I know. I do that all the time. What? What? Seriously, what? And it's like, I'll say, it's really important. Listen. And then, it'll drive him crazy. So I spend most of the time just driving him crazy. Not really, because the information's pretty boring, but sometimes it's fun to deliver it, like with some people, if you tell them stuff really fast, okay, say that again, and then you repeat it. So anyway, they're really not around, and it drives them crazy. So I do things like that because I get so bored sometimes when I do readings. And honestly, some people, most people that I do readings for, so most people that call me, I'm a future guy, and I don't talk to your dead relatives or friends. I don't really give a rip about them. Not that they're not great and all that, but there's people out there, freaking mediums. They they talk to your relatives, and and that's great. But then, but after you establish that yes, there is life after death, and yes, there's spirits, and yes, you can talk to them, then you kind of want a little more information. So I decided I was going to be a future guy and I also could tell whether I was going to be accurate or not. And anyway, so most of the time when people contact me, I can't do them, not because I can't do them. It's that most people won't, like every day, like people have opportunities in their life that come along, and most people won't take those opportunities. They just won't, for a variety of different reasons. They're afraid, or they don't think they deserve it, or whatever. They just won't. So for me, I charge like $300 a reading, and it's a lot of money to tell somebody to just join a bowling league, to just say, well, this is about the best you're going to do, because you can tell that's what they're going to do is they're not going to do anything. So but then some people insist, and it's kind of bad karma for me to take money from people when I know I really can't say something. So most of the time I don't call them back, or I suck when I talk to them, so they just think, they should talk to somebody else. Or I refer them to other psychics because, a lot of other psychics care, which is, I think, key. Because I don't really care as much. I should, but I don't. I've just been doing it too long. So anyway, most of the time when people call, I just do people, like people in the entertainment field, they're not the greatest in the world, but if they see an opportunity coming, they will take it because they got it, because they'll go mental. And so that's why I work with those people, not because it's great. It's just, it fits what I do better. It's just because I know they're going to take the opportunity. Right. And it makes me look better if they take them. Like if I give a reading to somebody and I can see something happening for them and I know they're not going to take it, and it doesn't work out, then they think I suck, and I kind of do, because I knew that they weren't going to take it. But I tell them, when I was younger, I used to do that, but now I just don't. I don't return calls. But yeah, I run into that a lot. Most of the people that I talk to just won't do what is coming. They don't recognize it, or they don't want to take that little extra chance. They just want to stay in their spot, which is okay. I don't care. They can do whatever they want. But for a future guy, you got to have a future. That's what you got to have.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. So, out of curiosity, my mother, I would put her in the realm of a psychic, I guess. But she would do things such as we'd be at a store and she'd just walk up to somebody. She'd get a really weird look on her face first and then grab their arm and tell them where their life was going, and then it stopped abruptly, and would tell them exactly why. Bullying, incest, and she would just blop it right out as long as they were alone. She would never say it in front of somebody else. Right. And then tell them how they can get back on their path again if they were young enough to do so. Right. I didn't know that I could do that till 2010 when somebody was teaching me how to clear a house, how to smudge somebody, and it was a medicine man down at the American Indian Center. And then that's when he told me, he said, after I smudged somebody, I said, wow, that was weird. It was like I was looking through a knothole of a fence. And then I told him what I had seen. And then that's when the guy actually said, yeah, I was with my auntie and I was living with my uncle and I used to drink all the time and they used to slap on me and stuff. And then he had me do another person, but he did them first and he told me it was the same thing and said I was a smoke reader. And that was he said, I thought I was the only one in the state of Minnesota. And it's like, so what would that be considered? Just a verifier or something of their life?
So you mean when you would smudge the person and then you'd get them readings and stuff?
Yeah, I would get readings often. It was never nothing in the future. It was always, where their life changed in.
Yeah, it's really just to establish that there is a power greater than themselves out there. Like they're not so alone. Like they're not
right.
That there's things that they can call on other things. It's like those people, those people are helpful because they help give you that sense of power that you can call on other things. That sense of magic and wonder and all that kind of thing. It helps because if people know that, then they can kind of utilize it and use it to manifest stuff. It's a great thing.
Okay, cool.
It helps. It helps a lot of people because a lot of times people feel so alone and separate and they feel forsaken. Like nobody's listening. But if a guy like you comes along and blows some smoke in their face and says some stuff, it makes them feel like they're not so alone.
Right. Well, they would always verify too exactly what I'm saying or exactly what mom would say and stuff. But like you, I was the youngest in my family and I hated the whole ghost thing. Just hated it. Though I did. The only thing I really liked about it was my grandfather. They used to take me out to the woods to talk to the trees.
Love trees. Yeah.
It was so weird because even animals would come by. Like we had a deer one time with the babies. We had a bear one time. And I just went again after 50 years of not going to that spot. I think it was earlier this year or was earlier last year. I can't remember. And as I was sitting there, all of a sudden here comes a porcupine grumbling on its way through. And then when I called him Mr. Grumbles, he just turned and looked at me. And there was something to the porcupine and all that other stuff. It was just very strange. But I love going there. I want to take, the ladies here there and like Steph and a few people there. I think that they would really get something out of it. Trees do talk and the things that they say is pretty amazing. Yeah. So
nature spirits. I love nature spirits.
Right. Now, how many books got out now?
I'm sorry, who?
How many books do you have?
Oh, I got 2. The second one, it was supposed to be called 7 Reasons Why Not to Go to a Psychic, but the publishers didn't like it. And it's really about, it's called, it's called, what's it called? Psychic's Life. Yeah. And it's mostly just about stories about people having experience of their own, I got kind of tired of, sometimes when I walk into a room of psychics, there's a lot of psychics that are really good and they care about what they're doing, and it's important. And so when I walk into a place, I like to refer other psychics to people just because it's a pain in the butt, and I don't always want to talk to people. So if I have other people I can refer to, it's great, But when I was noticing that when I was doing some of these shows or doing some of these other things that I was doing, that some of these psychics were always trying to impress me with how great their third eye was, and how big their third eye was, and I don't really care, There's tons of psychics that are way better than I do, that's never been a thing for me. But I was running into that a lot, and I was running into a lot of psychics that were famous, but they were frauds, and they were cheating all the time, and they were getting their information from the internet, and they were doing stuff, and it just seemed it threw me, and because it seemed unnecessary, if like sometimes I can't pick up anything on people, and then other times I can. It just depends on whether I'm supposed to or not. But some of these people were just, making stuff up as they were going. And I usually bust them, or I talk to them about it and say, dude, what are you doing? You can't do. And some of them were charging like tons of money. Oh yeah. And so, and it was bugging me. So I wrote this book just to, talk about how different psychics work and what they do and what they don't do and what they can do and what they're supposed to do and what they're not supposed to do. And then how, just experiences of things that happened and that weren't connected to, another psychic, but just like stories of things that have happened to other people and how it didn't have anything to do with psychics, that they just had these experiences. And, it's just stuff like that. It was really just so that people wouldn't think as psychics as having the answers, that actually people have their own answers, that guides do talk to them. And if they access them, they can get information. And so that was the reason for the second book. And the first book was just about growing up, in this family with all these weird things and people. And I have really hard or bad ADHD, or I can't concentrate very well. And so, if I see a squirrel, I'm toast, and so writing a book for me was really hard because I sidetrack all the time. But it was funny when I was doing them, people were coming up to me with all these different stories and reminding me of different things. And it's kind of funny how it works out, even if you don't think you can do something, because I never thought I could write. And I'm not a writer. I just tell stories. But it's funny how even if you don't think you can do something, Spirit just kind of provides it for you. Even if you, because I suck as a writer, but I can tell stories, and that's what they turned out to be, was just stories.
So growing up, there was 3 of you kids, right?
4 of us. We had I have a brother that he's kind of he actually the first one to have all the experiences, but he went to the dark side. He's a reborn Christian, and he thinks that psychics are bad, but he got afraid of all this stuff. It freaked him out. He didn't know how to deal with it, so he just he went to the other side. And in my first book, he's also he's in the whatever. When I first wrote the first book, he wanted me, if I was going to include him, he wanted me to give him 10% of whatever I made because, he figured if he was in it, then he should get some money from it. And and he's a little homophobic. So I changed his name to Lance, the gayest name I could think of, and I made him my cousin. So in my first book, he's actually my brother, but I named him, he's Lance, and he's my cousin. But I don't talk about him very much because he doesn't like this stuff at all. And we're not the closest, but he is my brother. So, but it's mostly it's all been my 2 sisters, actually my mother, and my mom. She's the one that got us into this whole thing. She was really into it. Like, she loved this stuff. She just loved it. She couldn't get enough of it.
So there times that you would tell on your sisters because you knew it was going to happen? So you'd go to your mom and say, Echo's going to do this.
Well, yeah, it's funny you say that because when I was a kid, I was probably 7, and I was trying to describe these things that I was seeing because I thought everybody could see them. I could see auras around people, and I could see other stuff, and I really did think everybody could see. I thought everybody could see that, and so I was trying to describe to my parents one time about what was going on with my sister Echo about her boyfriend, and that I think they were having sex or something like that. And so I did it, but I didn't necessarily try to. I just, in trying to describe what I was getting, I was, I would kind of bust her. But then I learned, you can't do that. But in the beginning I did, yeah, but not. Well, and then see, growing up in a psychic, you couldn't do. You couldn't do anything. Like I would sneak out, and my mom would catch me every time, and I couldn't. If I'd get in trouble, my mom just knew all this stuff. And so there's a way to kind of combat that. Or like when I would sneak out, I would have to tell myself I'm not sneaking out. I'm in my room. I'm just about to fall asleep, and so I would project that. So when my mom would kind of do her little psychic sweep, that's what she would get, and that was the only way I could kind of combat it. So when my sisters are being like intrusive, or they're trying to pick up on what's going on with me, because sometimes they think, what's going on with you? I have to think of one way so that they think that's what I'm going through. So there is ways to get by that, but it takes some practice, and it helps to grow up in a psychic family, because that was the only way I could get away with stuff, was to just disguise what I was thinking or what I was actually doing. Like I'm not skipping school. I'm in school right now.
Gotcha.
I'm not making out with Mary Jo. I'm at prom or whatever.
Okay, hold on before you give too much away from these ex-girlfriends. We got to go take a break. We're going to be right back in 2 minutes with Michael Bodine.
Vampires, werewolves, skinwalkers, all of this and more, Sunday nights at midnight on the Staring Into the Abyss radio show. Come, get lost with us.
I don't know if you've heard, but there's a great new radio show on Para X. 2 hosts, 1 hour, and too much fun. Stephanie and Heidi not only talk about the latest goings-on in the supernatural worlds, they live it. They want to hear from you. They want to help you understand and guide you. And they want you to tune in. So, grab a friend or come alone to gather around that metaphysical table with Heidi and Stephanie. If you're interested in the worlds of the unseen, tune in to the Gathering Radio Show, Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern on Para X Radio.
Those geek ladies, Sean and Victoria from Exploring the Paranormal with Geeks Paranormal, are at it again with another amazing season full of paranormal celebrity interviews with amazing guests and stories of haunted locations and so much more. You will hear it first on Para X. Tune in Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Central. You will not be disappointed.
And we're back. This is Jerry with The Calling. And hey, if you guys are if you're gonna be missing today's show and you're wondering what happened in the beginning, well, tell you what, by tomorrow, 4 o'clock, this show will be on our website, www.thecallingradioshow.com, and also on our YouTube channel, The Calling Radio Show. Remember, Para X has tons of awesome shows out there. You got The Gathering on Tuesday nights with Stephanie and Heidi. I was going to say, what's her name? No, Heidi. I didn't mean that. And that's every Tuesday at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So have fun with that. Tons of other shows, too. So we're going to get back to the one, the only Michael Bodine. Go ahead, Willow.
All right. So I remember listening to one of your interviews, and you talked about, as a child, going to psychic camps. I want to know about these psychic camps.
That's a good one.
I wish I could have gone to psychic camp. I think this is great.
Well, psychic camp, they were back then. There was, like, now you can't spit without hitting a psychic, but back then it was kind of like underground. Everything was really underground, and like, if you were a psychic, you kind of had a mental illness, so people didn't talk about it very much. It was like Fight Club. You just didn't talk about it. But so they would have these little meetings, like in all these, like the 5-state area around us, or even beyond, and they would be these little secret places where you would meet, like usually in the woods someplace, and it was, and you'd drive and drive and drive, and each camp had sort of a theme. Like one camp would be like nature spirits or fairies or healing or magic, all that kind of stuff. And but my mom didn't want to go alone, so she would always drag me. And at first, she would tell me that we were going to Disneyland, and then halfway there, she'd say, "Oh, sorry, we're not going to Disneyland. We're going to a psychic camp." And it was, and I didn't like. Well, it was kind of, it was like those old, like gypsy things. They were all in these little, you'd go down these secret little places, and there'd always be these fires and campsites all over. And it was kind of cool in that sense. But the people were just so odd. For a kid, it was uncomfortable, or at least for me. I didn't like this stuff to begin with. And then to go to a camp full of them, it drove me nuts. Right. So I think I would appreciate it now more. But back then, I just, I used any kind of excuse to get away or get out, or when I was there to try and just be a jerk. But there were some really interesting places. There were really interesting people. Some of them, and everybody was kind of into it because it was all discovery stuff. They were learning. People were discussing different ways of doing things, like what worked for them and what didn't work for them, and how to try this. And there wasn't a whole lot of ego, because nobody really knew what the hell, And the old psychics were like, they would come in and they would talk to younger psychics, because the younger psychics were all excited about things, and the older psychics hadn't been excited for a long time. So the older psychics would like to be there to get the energy from the younger psychics. And it was kind of like that whole fellowship thing going on.
Right.
There was, everybody had their own little method, and nobody was judging other people for the way they did it. Some people like to hum, and that's how they gave readings. I thought the whole thing was stupid. So I was pretty much mean to everybody, but my mom loved these things because it was an exchange of information, and she didn't, and people didn't feel so alone. But man, some of these camps were pretty weird. I went to this one camp in, I think it was northern Michigan. We drove forever, and I was mad at my mom because she had tricked me into going. And but she really wanted me to come, because this was supposed to be the one. It was a special kind of camp. This was about that there's magic in the world, that there's things that we don't see or talk about or whatever in the world every day. And so I was a little curious, because on the way, it was a long drive. She was trying to explain. She was trying to get me excited, and she was also trying to get me not to be a jerk to anybody. Just be nice and be, just listen to them. So by the time I got there, I was kind of excited. And then she tells me, when we were pulling up, she goes, and just don't piss anybody off, okay? So there's a vampire family here, and I said, shut up. There's no vampires. She goes, yeah, please, just don't say anything. Just listen to them, okay? And so I got a little nervous, because I could tell that she was actually nervous herself, and she didn't get nervous about stuff like that. She was just cool with everything. If you were possessed, great. If the walls were bleeding, fine. It didn't matter to her. But this kind of, she didn't know exactly what to think of it. And so when we got there, there was a lot of people there, and there was different other booths of people talking about fairies and the where to find them, how to find them, what to look for, what they feel like when they're more prevalent, when they're not, blah blah blah. But then there was this tent, and and we walked in, and there was this group of 4 people up on stage, and I was far enough back in the beginning to where I just thought they were just, normal people. But but when we came in, they were already talking. And the only person that was talking was this, the dad, this guy. And they had a dad, a mom, and a daughter and a son. And the mom and the dad and the daughter, the mom, daughter, and the son, they didn't talk. They just sat there. But as I got closer, I noticed that their skin was like that, that egg roll, that like a spring roll. Yeah.
Yeah.
And but it was tight, and their face had this they didn't have any makeup on, but they had really dark eyeliner on, but it wasn't eyeliner, and their face just had a whole different look to it. Like I'd never seen that before. And I thought, maybe they were just characters, but the more I got closer and the more I looked at them, I realized that I'd never seen anything like that before. And the dad was talking about, they didn't call them vampires, they called them something else, but he made a couple of references to that. We normal people would refer to them as vampires, but they were called something else, and that they had been around for many, many years, 400 years or so, and that they were not the oldest ones, that there were many other ones that were much older, and that some still sucked blood from people, but most just took the energy from people. Most of them just took your energy, and that they live among us, and that you would never know. You can tell, but they don't make themselves known. And the more I was listening to this guy, the more I was and looking at him. When you looked at these people, they looked right through you. It was like they looked at you like you were food. It's like they saw you as. It was the most weirdest, exciting, bizarre, creepy, scary, but really fun thing that I'd ever seen in my life. And and the guy was talking about. He was talking about history and all this kind of stuff. People were asking him questions. He was very deliberate in the way he talked. He was very calm in the way he delivered his stuff. You could tell, though, he could rip your face off at any time. At least I thought he could. And he talked in terms of life being all about learning and the patterns that repeat in life that blah blah blah, that we, if we don't learn it one time, we'll have to learn it again, and all this stuff. But the way that he moved was like, and the way his kid, this kid, he was probably, 17, but he was supposedly like 300 years old or something like that, and the wife was really pretty, but really just like I'd never ever seen anything like that, and I had a hard time believing anything, most of the time. But I actually believed that I saw vampires. Now, I didn't go around telling everybody at school the next day that I saw vampires. In fact, I pretty much kept it to myself for a long time. But it changed the way that I looked at the world, because then I realized that he was right, that there is things out there that we don't know about or that we don't assume that are real, but they are, and there is all this magic in the world, and it just. It was it was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen, and
that's why I love New Orleans.
Yeah.
Was it down there in New Orleans? Is where you seen them?
No, this was when I saw. This was in This is in Michigan Bay or someplace around Michigan, but that was where they weren't. They didn't live there. I don't know where they lived. There's a lot of them, I guess, in Europe, or I don't know where the hell, but it was. They said so much stuff. I was just staring at them. I was just like, wow, is that true? Because at first I was like, yeah, right, psychics or vampires. But then the way that they talked and the way that they moved, it was like nothing I've ever seen.
Gotcha. So, curiosity, could you tell which one of the ladies, Willow or Kimberly, which one has been fanged?
Ouch.
Fanged. That is a vampire.
I see. I didn't get to know them that well. I didn't. Right. Okay, so here's how you can tell who gets fanged and who doesn't. No, it's not like that. They didn't even know I was there. So I wouldn't know if fanged or not fanged.
I mean, the two ladies right here, Willow or Kimberly. Can you tell which one?
No, I couldn't. Maybe Kimberly probably.
Kimberly, no, it was Willow.
Oh.
Yeah,
Willow was fanged.
Well, no, because Kimberly's got this white glow on her face. That's from the screen.
Called the light.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but she had.
I'm always in the dark.
Yeah,
I'm always in the dark.
Yeah. No, you can tell. I was trying to be funny. It was because
I know.
light. Yeah.
No, you hit it just right. So we do have a few questions from some people. From Steve. He was asking, like, when you go out and stuff like that, is there times that either your spirit guide or do you just feel you need to put a shield up around you?
Yeah, absolutely. So when I was a kid, I was, like I say, I didn't take this as seriously as I should. In fact, I was just the opposite. I was pretty, I got my mouth got me in a lot of trouble. And one day, I went to this party where there was a bunch of so-called kids that were trying to be witches, and they were all doing the makeup, and they were all doing this. They were trying really hard to get into black arts and all that kind of stuff. And I got in a couple verbal fights with a couple of people who were. We disagreed on a lot of stuff, but at the end, they all threatened to put a curse on me, which probably was deserved. So I was a kid. I didn't know. I was probably 11 or 12, but I came home and I was kind of like, I might have pushed it a little bit too far that night because I was like, I got into it with them. And they were determined. They one grabbed some hair and was like, "That's it. We're putting they were doing they were going to do all sorts of stuff." So I thought for sure I was going to wake up with a third leg or something was going to fall off. And so I talked to one of my spiritual teachers back then, and her name was Birdie, and she said that talked to me about putting up shields of protection around me, and that that I can't. Because of my mouth, that I'm going to have to learn how to use that shield more often, because I do have a tendency to say things that probably are inappropriate to certain people and bug them. So I learned when I was a kid to protect myself, but that was when I was being a jerk. And but other times there's people that they just have dark energy, and you can just feel it, and they just want to suck from you, and they just or they just have a weirdness to them, and I don't necessarily always want to feel that, so now it's just more instantaneous. Now I just kind of put the shield up right away, so I don't have to deal with it. I don't care what their thinking is, and I don't really judge them for whatever they want to do, but I just don't want to feel it sometimes. So now, when that happens, or when I get around too many people, then I just gotta kind of protect myself a little bit, just so I don't feel so tired the next day,
Right.
But I have been attacked on more than one occasion, and I've had to use that shield for that. But now I just use it for, and I shouldn't say it was just when I was a teen. I've had issues with some other religious people that, and I don't bug them. They have their own beliefs and I have mine, and I stay away from them. They stay away from me, but occasionally it'll cross over, or somebody will get mad, or they'll go, take a chicken's heads off and curse me or something. And, so you got to have protection for that kind of stuff,
Right.
You can't just walk around being vulnerable because you don't want to grow a third nose or something.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. So also Steve asks, Michael, do you think people that are bipolar are more prone to pick up on entities?
Yeah, I do. I do. I know a lot of bipolar people. I do a lot of exorcisms, and a few of them, more than a few, are bipolar. Yeah, they just have that kind of vulnerability to them. They have they because of their mood swings and stuff. They are more open, I think, to that kind of stuff. And I feel bad for them. I don't think it's their fault. I just think that they're more susceptible to people jumping inside of them because they're kind of open. They go from one thing to another, and so they're not as protected. But yeah, in fact, I know a few people, that get possessed a lot, and then they're bipolar. Yeah.
Okay, Sherry in the chat room asks if you see violence on TV, can you feel that pain? Would that be like empathetic abilities?
Yeah, and it's something that, like a lot of times when there are certain times of the year, like winter, summer solstice, or, certain times of the year when the veil is a little thinner or you're more sensitive to things, that you got to be careful that you can't watch certain shows because you'll feel them more, or you be around certain crazy people because you'll feel them more. It's like you have to be aware, like sometimes shows won't bother me at all, and then other times the same show would just really have a bad effect on me. I'll feel the crazy mental illness that the person, the murderer has, and I'll actually feel it, and because a lot of times the actor that is doing the movie is actually becoming that person. Right. So you can feel that from the watching the film. But like I said, it's not always that way, but sometimes it is. And when it does, you can, like there's certain things I can't watch. But like when I was a kid, to us, The Exorcist was funnier than hell. We thought that was just so funny. But then there's other things that are just, oh my God, yeah, I can't. It stays with you for a couple of days. You can't. It's hard to shake.
Wow, I'll be darned. So now, do you still? Okay, we're going to go back to the vampire thing. Have you seen any in the Minneapolis area, or
let's
ever
see.
seen them since that time when you were younger?
Well, I think so. I think I have. The problem is that if we lock eyes, they know and I know, and then they kind of go. It's like I think I do, and then they're gone. I haven't I haven't had a conversation with one. Well, not a real heavy one, but I haven't had a sit down or anything like that with them. Usually, I'll run across, like if I'm at a store and they're there, I can feel them because they have a very distinct feel to them. It's like a color. They have a very certain color to them, and I'll feel that, and then they'll probably feel me, and then we avoid each other. It's not because we don't like each other. I think they just don't want me to like go, hey, it's a freaking vampire. So they just leave, or they go. But I have run across it a couple times. It's like this whoosh. It's like this whoosh. Yeah, it's hard to explain, but yeah, it's weird.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about by the whoosh.
Yeah,
thing.
It's just like somebody just goes by and it's just like this.
Yeah,
and you can feel it, and they don't want to be bugged. I don't want to bug them, so it's good that we just leave.
Live and let live.
Yeah.
So don't come to New Orleans during Halloween,
right?
Because we have the largest vampire gathering in the world.
I bet. Well,
I don't know if there's any real ones, but yeah.
I just don't want to. They don't want the attention. I don't want to draw the attention.
Yep.
There you go. Because you'd be the first one to point and go, "Oh my God, there they are!"
Oh my, hide the kids, quick!
Oh my God.
So, Kimberly, do you want to take the question in the chat room, please?
So, Michael, they're asking, can you mentally go forward or backwards in time?
Yeah, but everybody can.
Okay.
It's you can. There's all sorts of weird stuff you can do, you guys.
Right.
I mean, you can like. Well, this is just going to sound weird, but so I do a lot of ghost busting, right? But if I'm not in the same city, I'll show up. I'll go to the person's house. I have to mentally make myself go there, but you can go. And I've had people call me freaked out because they've seen me standing in their hall, but they've asked me to get rid of a ghost, so I'll go there to get rid of a ghost. So you can do stuff like that. You can kind of travel. Sometimes I'm not always aware of it. I did an interview for a lady who was writing a book about psychics, and I wasn't aware, but she said her and her friend said on her way back to Chicago that she saw me sitting in the back seat, and both her and her friend saw me, and it freaked them out. I wasn't aware of doing that. I think I was thinking about them, but I wasn't aware that I was going to sit in their back seat with them.
Right.
Yeah, and it freaked them out. But I think it was important for whatever she was writing about me or something. I'm not sure why I did it, but most of the time I am aware when I leave. Or I've had people accuse me of coming to them and saying stuff to them, but I have no recollection of doing it. But my point is that you can do stuff like that, and you can go back in time wise, and some people go forward. The only problem with that, there was people that I was working with, or that was working with us when I was little. They would get so entrenched in that kind of stuff that their now reality just, they couldn't deal with it. They had to be either forward or back. Some people were really obsessed with the past, and they would just go. And so their time here was like, they were just like vegetables, they were always gone. And so it's kind of a trap, because it's something you have to be careful with, because a lot of times souls don't want to come back, to the now, because it can be boring for some people here.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we're down to about 2 minutes left. So is there a way, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you? MichaelBodine.com. Yeah, but if they're just curious, there's tons of psychics that are out there that would, that are really good and that actually care, and so those people would be great. But if you really do, if you're interested in the future stuff, just MichaelBodine.com. Okay. Pretty sure that's it. Yeah, and I'm not for everybody, because I do swear. I try not to. I'm not a real kumbaya kind of a guy. Like, if I put a glass of water, it's not for spirit, it's for me. So, see, you're the type of person, and I'm sure that there's a lot of people right now that are listening, and they're like, oh my God. But, you would be the person that I would want to get a hold of. Right. The one that's not going to pussyfoot around. If I'm going to die a violent death.
Oh, I'll tell you. I'll give you the time.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I would want. And I wouldn't care how much you'd want. I would pay that.
Well, I might have to pay in advance if yours was going to be soon. Yeah.
Exactly.
Mine's at least 2 weeks away.
Yeah. Well, people, at parties or stuff, they give me crap for being a psychic, and if you say something like, look, I think you should get a blood test. They always like, you're kidding, right? Right? You're kidding, right? Just to shut them up, just to kind of, exactly. You're like, what do I have for dinner, that kind of stuff.
Then punch them in the gut, make them throw up. Well, that's
yeah. So you can get people off your back if you do that. Just tell them, there's a dead guy behind you. I wonder what he wants. I gotta go. I always told Bobby Sullivan that I'd really like him to come on over here to my place and tell me what the heck is in here. I'm in an apartment building. My toilet will flush on its own. How can you do that? The handle moves. Oh, yeah, they do that stuff.
Yeah, the microwave turns on. The other night, it slammed my roommate's door so hard, the clock flew off the wall and busted in a million pieces. But yet, it never goes into my room.
Boundaries, weird. Yeah. It's good to have boundaries.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to have you and Bobby over one time. Listen, we got to go here. So thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you, Para X. Sarge, you rock something fierce. Thanks to all the troops, and thank you, Michael Bodine, for coming on. And I know we'll see you again. So if you could hold tight for just another moment, I'd like to talk further with you. Good night, everybody.
Night.
Night.